Grace, mercy, and peace are yours from God our Father and from our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen. We'll get to the text in a moment. I'd like to begin, however, with kind of a little quiz, if you don't mind, just to see how you do. Here's my question. Is it in the Bible or isn't it? These words, okay? You let me know what you think, okay? Let's start with the one that may or may not be easy for you. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Is that in the Bible? No, it is not. That's correct. Good job, 100%. Except for those of you who are whispering. Money is the root of all kinds of evil. I got yes, I got no. Scott has got the upshot here. The love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, so just a little bit off, right? So no, that is not in the Bible. How about this one? God helps them who help themselves. No, you are correct. Love your enemies. Ooh, you're doing really well. My breath is offensive to my wife. That is in the Bible. Job 19, verse 7. One of his scourges was that. Idle hands are the devil's tools. Idle hands are the devil's tools. You've never heard that. Maybe that's because it's not in the Bible. Not in the Bible. He who blesses his friend with a loud voice, rising early in the morning, it will be counted a curse to him. How many say yes? How many say no? Yes, it is. Proverbs 27, verse 14. Let me give you one more. Give beer to those who are perishing, wine to those who are in anguish. Clay is shaking his head enthusiastically. Yes, he is enthusiastically correct. Proverbs 31, verse 6. Sometimes we get the wrong idea of what's in the Bible and what's not. And sometimes we get wrong ideas about what the Bible teaches and what it doesn't. I want to talk to you today about really one, but I want to mention 4 different things that I think people think the Bible might teach that it doesn't. And one is going to be based on our text for today. First one. God wants me to be happy above everything else. That is not true. Sometimes God calls us into struggling. He doesn't call us to be happy. He calls us to be His and to follow in His will, to look forward to the day when we will be eternally in glory with Him, but we traverse through this vale of tears, right? Then there's this one. It doesn't matter what you do as long as you don't hurt anyone. That's a general concept that people think, yeah, God must be in support of that. As long as you're not hurting anybody, what you do with your own time is just fine. Scriptures speak much more collectively that God calls us as His people to serve Him and follow Him and to think about how what we do affects other people. Another one. It doesn't matter what you believe as long as you are sincere in what you believe. If that's true, then what was the purpose of Jesus' death on the cross in the first place? And here's the one I want to focus on today that's based on our text, this concept. God won't give you more than you can bear. Now, here's the text. It says this. No temptation has seized you except what is common to man, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear, but when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so you can stand up under it. Do you see the subtle difference? God won't give you more than you can bear, or God will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you can bear, and when you are tempted, He will provide a way of escape. He will provide a way of escape. Let's talk about that. God won't give you more than you can bear? Certainly we've seen people who have borne an awfully heavy load. people who've gone through extremely hard times, haven't we? And in their life, I'm guessing that they might feel that they can't stand up under it. I'm thinking, and I've told you this story before, my father. My father, in the year 1959, lost his mother, and then his father took his own life, and then he lost his baby. That's a lot of weight to bear. I've been with others of you who have gone through an awful lot. A cancer diagnosis. People who've suffered through pain. People who've had a downward spiral concerning their life, whether it be their job or their home, things that have happened. And it's a heavy load. And when you're under this weight, it doesn't feel very good. And you want to say to yourself, I can't take it anymore. I'm overtaxed, overburdened, beaten down, tired, lonely, depressed. And maybe the last thing I need is for somebody coming up to me and in the name of the Lord saying, first of all, I know how you feel. Do they really? Secondly, don't worry, God won't give you more than you can bear. And then there's my favorite line, whenever God closes a door, He opens a window. Which, by the way, comes from the sound of music, not from the scriptures. When you're under this heavy load, all that says to you is, yeah, buddy, it's hard, but dig deeper. You'll find it. God hasn't given you more than you can bear, so bear up under it. Grit your teeth. Pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Be tough. Because God won't give you more than you can bear. That is not what the passage says. The passage says God will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear, but when tempted, He will provide a way of escape. So He won't give us more than He can bear, since He promises us His love. As you look at the scriptures, you see a plethora of examples of this. If you go to the book of Judges, for instance, you'll see a Gideon who is called by God to go and lead the people. And Gideon has no training for this, and he feels completely unequipped. And his words literally are, God, I am the weakest in my clan. You really ought to pick somebody else. God calls him mighty warrior, but he's not. Until God takes hold of him. Then there's Moses. If you read the story of Moses, my goodness, you'll see that he was not very eager about being Charlton Heston, right? For those of you who are old enough to know that movie, or those of you who are going for the retro thing at Easter time. Okay. Hardly. He said to God, I am slow of speech and of tongue. And when God keeps reminding him that he'll be with him, he finally says, Lord, please, do you know what he says? Send someone else. That's what he says. Esther. We think of Esther as this great queen who saved the Israelites, but Esther says, I am afraid. David says this. This is literally a quote from Psalm 38. My guilt has overwhelmed me like a burden too heavy to bear. I am exhausted and completely crushed. My groans come from an anguished heart. As he dealt with his run from Saul, pursuing his life, seeking to get rid of him. Then there was our Lord Jesus himself just before the cross. He says to his disciples, my soul is deeply distressed and troubled. My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow, even to the point of death. Sometimes God allows us, He gives us to have situations that might seem too heavy. I think there's reasons for that. And today I want to talk about three of them. Okay? Three reasons why I believe God does this. One, to teach us to depend on his presence. To teach us how much we need him. To draw us to him. There's this guy in the Bible, Jacob. He's on the edge of extinction. He's gotten himself in so much trouble. He's got to go back to his land. He knows his brother Esau is out to kill him. He's waiting on the other side of the river. His family, he's pretty sure, might get rubbed out into extinction. He's laying down all by himself, feels the weight is too heavy. And in that moment, God comes to him in a human flesh, and he wrestles with him. And in the end, Jacob holds on and says, I won't let you go until you bless me. Because Jacob realized that he was in trouble, and he needed the presence of the mighty one to give him strength. Then there's Jonah, called by God to go preach to the Ninevites, the people he didn't like, the people he didn't want to be saved. He heads the other way. Not interested in doing that. But life fast spirals downward for him, and he ends up in the belly of a big fish. And from there, that's a pretty heavy weight to bear. Here's what he says. In my distress, I called to the Lord, and he answered me. When my life was ebbing away, I remembered you, Lord, and my prayer rose to you. Troubles led him to the side of the Lord, and soon he's out of the belly of the whale, and he's preaching what God called him to do. I heard a preacher once say this: never let the presence of a storm cause you to doubt the presence of God. Maybe David said it well. The Lord is near to all who call on him, to all who call on him in truth. Or one of our favorite Psalms, 23, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil because, why? Thou art with me. Sometimes we have loads that seem too heavy to bear because God wants us to appreciate his presence, that he is with us. Second thing, I believe God sometimes allows these burdens too heavy so that we might also experience his power. Because you see, God doesn't expect us to do everything in our own power. St. Paul, he has this thing in the scriptures. It says he had a thorn in the flesh. And he says that this thorn, he pleads with God to get rid of it. We don't exactly know what that thorn was. Some think it had something to do with his eyes. Something it might have had to do with something else. But it was something that was so heavy upon him that he pleaded. He used the word pleaded with God to be rid of it. And after pleading with God 3 times, God says this to him: my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. And Paul says, therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weakness, so that Christ's power may rest in me. For when I am weak, then I am strong. When we can't get it done, he can get it done through us. 2 different kind of boats. One is a rowboat. And I remember being in a rowboat once, going across a little lake called Screw Lake in New York. Some of you have heard this story before, and I couldn't get across because the storm was coming up. And me and my brother were pounding and pounding and pounding on those oars, and the boat doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And that's how it is sometimes for us when we're trying to do it in our own power. We are trying and trying and trying, and we're just not getting there. Then there's the sailboat. Boy, if I'd had a sailboat on that day, put that sail up, take me where I want to go. Not me rowing, but someone else. Someone greater than me. Maybe we need to be a bit more of a sailboat, and God wants us to experience his power by helping us recognize that he's there to propel us, to give us the strength to do what we cannot do on our own. So one, to teach us to depend on his presence. Two, to teach us to depend on his power, to experience his power. Three, maybe also to help us receive from others. Sometimes when we are caught so deeply in the pain of some storm, God raises up others to help them assist us. If I were so inclined today, it would be fun, but it would take too long. I'd have some person come up here, a big person, maybe me, and I'd invite one person to come and say, could you lift me and take me over to that piano? And they would look at me with a scary look on their face, unless they were Charles Atlas or something. But if I asked 10 people to come and take us, I think everybody would come because they know that 10 people can lift that guy. Sometimes that's the way it is with us. Think about Naomi and Ruth. Naomi loses so many. I talked about my dad. She lost a lot. She lost her 2 sons. She lost her husband. And she was at a point of such depression that she really just wanted to die. And guess who supports her? That wonderful daughter-in-law of hers named Ruth, who's, did I say that wrong? I did say it wrong. Naomi. No, I didn't. Naomi's the one who lost so much. Ruth, who lost her husband, her brother-in-law, and her father-in-law, says, let me go with you. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will stay. Your people will be my people. Your God, my God. She helps her. And she helps draw her attention back to the God of Israel. That's what we do for each other. I think I've talked to you about the strength that I've received from you as I've gone through various different things in my own life. Most especially, I think about when I lost my mom and how you were there with cards and prayers and words of support and other things. Now, I don't want you to walk away from this message saying, yep, I got to dig deeper. Because that would be me saying, God will give you more than you can bear. I want you to remember, as you go through sometimes pain and suffering, cast aside that little platitude, and instead, that we can give one another the only lasting truth, strength, hope, mercy, and comfort that we have in this valley of sorrows, this vale of tears, this world of sin and death, Jesus. In Jesus Christ, God has seen your affliction and known the distress of your soul. And what's more, he has delivered you from it in the most remarkable way. Jesus has suffered for you, bled for you, died for you, and has engraved you in the palm of his hands, not with gold or silver, but with his holy precious blood. He is with you. May he lift you up in those days of distress and help you find the peace that passes all understanding. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.